Football Friday edition of Birds 365, joined now by Ed Kracz. Follow Ed on Twitter at KratzE. Does a great job for Sports Illustrated, one of the best in the business at covering this football team. Ed, thanks for carving out some time for us this morning. Welcome to the show, man.
Hey, happy Football Friday, guys.
I like it. Energy from Ed Kracz.
Okay.
I like it. I need some. So good. Bring it. Where do you start with this game? I mean, Ed, we don't even know who's playing. AJ, Devontae, Lane. It doesn't look good for AJ and Devontae. I haven't been out there yet this week. Lane's at least going through the concussion protocol. He's out there. He's taking mental reps. Maybe he gets a questionable today on the status report. Tampa Bay's got, I don't know if you've seen Tampa Bay's injury report. It's 17 deep. They don't know who's playing either. How do you look at this game?
What is this, week 4? And look at all the injuries in the NFL already. We saw a couple last night with Parsons and Neighbors. It's just crazy that the season really feels like it just started, and now we're talking about these key injuries. The Eagles were fortunate with A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith the last 2 years. A.J. started 34 straight regular season games. Now he's probably going to miss his third, and Devontae played 33 out of 34 these last 2 years. So, that receiving core really is going to look a lot different. But I'll say this, John and Zander. I mean, I went to Jalen Hurts' press conference on Wednesday, I think it was, and it was the same time as the locker room. So usually John and we kind of divide and conquer. John stayed in the locker room, got a couple players. I went to Hurts' presser, and Jalen almost seemed like he was really looking forward to having these guys step in because he's anxious to see who's going to step up. He hasn't had that situation for the first 2 years. Like I said, Brown and Smith were healthy, but now he almost seems like he's looking forward to playing without them, to see what this team can do if they should need this kind of situation. Should a situation like this arise again, maybe later in the year where they have to have some players step up. And, look at the Buffalo Bills, for instance. They got rid of a lot of their receivers, Gabe Davis, Stephon Diggs, and it's Josh Allen's team, and they have this group of kind of nondescript receivers, and Allen's making it work. So I think Jalen's really looking forward to seeing what guys like Johnny Wilson and, probably Paris Campbell, probably John Ross, and of course, Jahan Dotson. I think he's kind of looking forward to seeing what this group can do. And the Eagles have the luxury of having a bye week next week, so that allows them some extra time to kind of let Smith get through his concussion, let AJ's hamstring, make sure that's 100% before you come back. If they go into the bye 2-2, if they lose, so be it. Coming out of the bye, you're still at 500. And I'm kind of looking forward to seeing how this thing's going to play out without these guys, Brown and Smith, and maybe Lane Johnson. I don't know, but even if he doesn't play, Fred Johnson played an encouraging game. So why not give Lane an extra rest, an extra week of rest too? So we'll see how it plays out, but it's a big ask for these guys stepping in at receiver.
Yeah, and I'll go one step further. How about Jalen Hurts? I mean, is there a silver lining here when you talk about not having AJ and Devontae? You're going to learn a little bit more about Jalen Hurts. I mean, we have a large viewership here on JAKIB, and many of the comments are about that as well, where maybe there's a silver lining with Jalen where, at the end of the day, it's not a bad thing when you have a player like A.J. Brown, then he's a crutch. But A.J.'s been a crutch for Jalen, right? At times, A.J. can bail him out. It's not a knock on Jalen. It's just the nature of having a tremendous receiver. Maybe it helps Jalen in terms of settling into the Kellen offense, getting through some of those progressions and doing those. Do you see that as a silver lining at all, or am I reaching?
Yeah, I mean, listen, you hope that he doesn't hold the ball too long. You hope that he trusts these new guys. His chemistry with Jahan Dotson has been, 6 weeks now? I think he got here August 22nd. Here we are, the end of August. So 5 or 6 weeks. You hope that he trusts guys like Johnny Wilson and Jahan Dotson, and John Ross and him got a little bit of chemistry built during the summer. And Paris Campbell, he threw him the ball a couple times this week. So you hope he trusts these guys enough to get rid of the ball quickly, and he doesn't try to, strap on the cape and play hero ball and run more often than he should. You hope he throws it to him. And let's not forget, he still has Dallas Goedert, who's a big part of this offense, and he still has Saquon Barkley. So that's a credit to Howie Roseman that you can lose two huge weapons in Smith and Brown, and you still have Dallas Goedert and Saquon Barkley and maybe Jahan Dotson.
Yeah, maybe. You know, I joked about Saquon. We've been talking a lot because he's had so many touches early in the season. It's probably not sustainable. He's on pace for, I think, 414 at this stage. He might get to 400 by the end of this weekend if it's Jahan Dotson. And I'm with you. I think it'll be Paris Campbell, John Ross, plus Johnny Wilson. So, Zander's fired up about Johnny Wilson. I know you like Johnny Wilson as well.
It's a Johnny Wilson day, Ed Kracz.
I like Johnny Wilson.
If I'm a betting man, though, betus.com, by the way. I'm just talking playing time. I'm going reps. Jahan Dotson, obviously, number 1.
Yes.
I'm going Paris Campbell, number 2. I'm going John Ross, number 3.
Ooh.
And I'm going Johnny Wilson, number 4. Tell me I'm right or wrong, Ed.
Wow, that's for a guy that just came in off the street, who just got a number issued to him on Thursday.
38, by the way.
Yeah, 38.
Weird, clunky number.
Yeah, he was out there Wednesday. We're like, where's John Ross?
Where's yeah. I'm like, who's 38? John Ross.
Yeah. So that's, I don't know about that. I think Johnny Wilson's going to get some reps. Kellen Moore always seems fired up when he talks.
He gets reps, but I think they know he's got a specific role. He's a good blocker. He's the rare receiver who plays like he's 6'6", 231.
I asked him about his holding penalty, though. When you mentioned a good blocker, he did get called for that holding. That's the second one. He's still learning how to do that.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
I'd like to see them use him in kind of like the A.J. Brown quick slant over the middle and give him a nice, easy 8-yard throw if he can get some leverage, and then see somebody try to tackle that big guy. I mean, he's a tough guy to tackle. Look at his only catch that he made, his first NFL catch. It was I think 3rd and 8. He catches it about 5 yards short of the first down. Just sheds one tackler and just keeps on rumbling to pick up a big first down.
Well, I think the concern would be from the coaching staff is when you throw the ball over the middle. You saw it with Devontae, one of the best route runners in the world. You have to be in the position that the quarterback thinks you're going to be. You can't fool the quarterback. The quarterback's got to trust you. I mean, he's just a young guy. I'm not putting him in those AJ situations because there's got to be a lot of trust between the quarterback and the receiver when you're throwing the football into traffic because, tip ball, bang, interception. It's going the other way. Maybe, but I would do it. What the heck? You roll the dice, man. To me, this is a house money type game. You don't have your key players. I don't know what the line is. I don't know what BetUS Eagles are favorite.
Favorite?
I believe 2.5.
Yeah, Eagles are still favorite. Yep.
I wouldn't feel as good about coming in and keeping the aggressive approach if the Eagles lost that game last week and they're sitting here 1-2 with a chance to slip to 1-3 with a loss. But I'm feeling pretty good at 2-2 if they go into the bye at 2-2. And
I don't think it's catastrophic if they lose
I don't either
by any stretch.
I would
especially after watching the Cowboys last night. I think you have some room in the NFC East.
Yeah, Washington's pretty good, and they were one of my dark horse picks to kind of make a playoff and maybe even win this division because no team ever wins this division back to back, and I didn't think that highly of the Cowboys coming in, and after 4 games, I still don't. But again, getting back to Johnny because it's Johnny Wilson Friday,
Johnny Wilson Day.
Yeah, I mean he's a really nice kid too. I've talked to him several times. Just a really nice kid that you hope that. Listen, I would trust the kid. He's been here. Him and Jalen worked out in the off season together with a couple other receivers, so they have built this chemistry together, and I know Hurts had a good chemistry with Britton Covey that was developed through a couple of years, and I think he might feel that with Johnny Wilson. And I wouldn't be surprised if Johnny Wilson plays more reps than John Ross at least. I mean, John Ross, is he in any shape? I mean, I don't know.
He's a sprinter. He's never had
Right.
Those guys are never out of shape.
Yeah, but I would say Wilson will get more reps than Ross, but maybe not. But I think they're going to get him involved.
John Ross, by the way, guys, is the fastest guy in the history of the world to wear number 38. I guarantee you that.
I couldn't even name another guy that wore 38.
I guarantee you. I haven't done the research, but I guarantee you.
Yeah, yeah. You mentioned Saquon Barkley as kind of a guy that might have 400 touches by the end of Sunday. He'll have 400 yards rushing by the end of Sunday. I'll tell you that. I mean, he's at 351 now, and they're going to ride him.
He better have 400.
Oh yeah,
they need him to be at like close to 500. I think by the end of this game,
right?
Which I think is possible. The Bucs haven't been great stopping the run. Now I imagine the problem is you can game plan. If AJ and Devontae aren't in there, I think he's going to get a lot of attention, to put it mildly, Saquon Barkley.
Yes,
and so it'll be interesting.
So will
Dallas, yeah.
So
I want to defend Jalen Hurts. So alert for the people that say I always hate on Jalen Hurts. And I saw another host talk about how Donovan McNabb would win games with lack of talent around him, and Carson Wentz would win games with Zach Ertz and nothing else. And Jalen Hurts doesn't do that. Ed, you and I have been around his entire career. Now they've had great playmakers for most of the time, and that's a testament to Howie Roseman. But there have been games. You go back to the Super Bowl season. Indianapolis, remember Houston, where he just carried the team to victory. They were not playing well for a particular game day. And Jalen Hurts carried the Indianapolis game specifically. It was so ugly for 3.5 quarters. And they got the football late, and he just did everything on his own. Why do you think the sentiment, like Jalen Hurts has already won games by himself? Many games. Why do you think that sentiment still exists?
Maybe it has to do with where he was taken in the draft, second round pick. Everybody thinks these quarterbacks come in the top 10 picks. And I think it's the same with like a guy like Brock Purdy. He doesn't seem to get a lot of love because he was the last pick in the draft when he came in. And, Jalen Hurts was a second round pick. And I don't think, I think that carries a certain stigma to it, as it does the fact that they had Carson Wentz here and people like Carson Wentz, and then they draft Hurts and they maybe blame him for how the whole thing went south for Carson Wentz. So, I'm just speculating. I'm not really sure there's a right answer here, but, those are things that maybe have people thinking, the guy's just not going to be any good. And then he throws those 15 interceptions last year. The team limps to the finish. So again, everybody looks at Jalen Hurts in that situation. He couldn't beat the blitz, but they don't remember the fact that he did carry this team for a while, like you said. And, even this year, you see when that fourth quarter hits, he's not doing anything rushing the ball for the first 3 quarters. But when that fourth quarter hits, man, that guy just turns it up another level, and he is very determined when he gets into the open field and runs, to the point where you should be worried about him getting hurt next, because he takes on tacklers. He doesn't slide. He's always looking to get to the sticks and make that big first down, and he's done it a couple times. But I hate to see that, because you talk about these injuries piling up, and gosh, you lost Smith and Brown. If you were to lose Jalen Hurts, this team would be in some trouble, obviously, with Kenny Pickett waiting in the wings. And it's not a knock on Pickett, but he's just not as good as Jalen Hurts. And listen, Jalen Hurts, I think, is the fourth. He's got the fourth most yardage passing coming into week 4. And he hasn't had A.J. Brown for 2 of those weeks. So, I don't know what people really want from Jalen. Maybe cut down the turnovers. He does throw the interceptions. Not all turnovers are created equally, though. A lot of those, some of them might not have been his fault. Certainly the fumble
last week, I don't think was his fault.
Devontae didn't really fight for the ball, and but he has been late. Jalen has been late with some of his throws, and those are decisions that he's got to clean up, no doubt, because you can't keep turning the ball over and win games.
Yeah, we had Sal Palantonio on yesterday on one of our late shows this week in pro football with Pat Callahan. And he gave an interesting stat, 3.2 seconds right now, Jalen, time to throw. It's the lowest in the NFL, and it's the longest in his career. We had BLG on, John. I know we talked about that a lot in the summer.
2.3. Doug Nussmeier and the Gravelly boys. 2.3. 2.3.
Yeah,
never going to be 2.3 with Jalen Hurts, but
no, it's not, and that's why I don't like to put too much into that stat. But I do think it's somewhat notable when you talk about not having star receivers and stuff out there. I think he's going to have to get rid of that ball quicker, or if not, today this might be one of those games where Jalen goes vintage Jalen and runs all over him, because it's one of those games he's going to have to pull out all the stops to win if you don't have AJ and Devontae out there.
Yeah, and they're going to blitz him, right? Todd Bowles is going to be blitzing as soon as they get off the bus.
I keep waiting for the blitz.
Yeah, I mean, but so far in the limited time that he has been blitzed, Jalen Hurts has done a pretty good job.
Yeah, it's arguably his biggest improvement so far from year to year.
Now that's going to be tested clearly against Tampa. Todd Bowles is going to heat stuff up and bring guys that Jalen may not see coming, and that 3.4 seconds probably could shrink to maybe less than 3 seconds to get rid of the ball. What I'd like to see Jalen do a little more, and I asked Kellen Moore about this, is maybe step up more in the pocket. It seems like he's so quick to fly outside. When there's room to step up in the pocket, like, would you like to see him do that more? And Kellen didn't really say no. I mean, I think they want him to kind of stay in the pocket a little bit more instead of just be so quick to cut half of the field off and run to your right or run to your left, and then that limits.
And that's Bowles' whole plan. That's been his whole plan, is not only to blush Jalen, but to blush him left more than right.
Exactly. So you'd like to see him climb the pocket a little bit more, step up into the pocket, and then maybe if there's a lane, you take off running. If not, just get rid of the football and live to play another down.
Yeah. And that's every quarterback, by the way. That's not a criticism of Jalen Hurts. It's better to climb the pocket because, as Ed said, you don't want to cut off the field if you don't have to. Sometimes you have to, but when you're rolling right or left, you're cutting off half the field generally. And if you don't, like in the opener against Green Bay, and you're throwing across your body, bad things are going to happen if you try to go the other way across the middle of the field. So that's the thought process, and that's not just Jalen Hurts. That's every quarterback in the NFL. And Kellen played quarterback, so he knows you definitely have to climb the pocket. So, but let's get to Saquon, because it is, to me, it's not going to be Johnny Wilson Day. It's going to be Saquon Barkley Day in Tampa. And he's been great and better than I expected from the standpoint. Not the passing game. Maybe that gets more ramped up because of the lack of receivers. They haven't really, except for the wheel routes in the opener, which was a big play, impactful play. He hasn't really gotten involved that much in the passing game. But running game, it's been tremendous. And, this combination of a top-tier back with a top-tier offensive line has worked out perfectly for Howie Roseman. Not everything has worked out perfectly, Bryce Huff, but that has worked out perfectly for Howie Roseman. Can it get better, or is it not sustainable because of the number of touches? I've argued you got to be more disciplined just to protect the guy. You got to get, I don't care if it's Kenny Gainwell or Will Shipley, maybe every 3 series you give them a series just to lower those numbers. Probably can't happen this week, but does it have to happen coming out of the bye week?
Yeah, I'm kind of with you there. Limit the touches, but man, it's so hard to do when he's so effective. You just kind of become enamored with what you see him able to do. He's always falling forward when he gets the football and starts running. He breaks tackles, yards after touch. I don't know what they are, but I imagine they're pretty good. But you mentioned the pass game with Saquon. I think there's more there. And I think, one of the ways to beat a blitz is to find your outlet, take your check down, find the running back in the flat and let him try to create something, get it to him quick. And that's where I would like to see maybe Gainwell get a few more snaps in the, get him the football. And even Shipley can catch the football. So, I would like to see them take some of the load off of Barkley, but boy, it's just so hard to do when you're in the flow of the game and you see what he's doing. And he's a home run hitter, ran that 65-yard touchdown. And another thing about Barkley is, how do you think Giants fans feel? I mean, the Cowboys, they were getting gashed on the ground in their last 2 games, giving up 5-point yards per carry in the run game, and they got 26 yards rushing. They have nobody. And yet they felt like, oh, this is a good deal to get rid of Barkley. I never understood that, why they wanted to get rid of Barkley. I mean, I know he was a 2nd overall pick and whatnot, and they hadn't won with him, but that's not his fault. Had they had Barkley last night, they might win that game.
Well, they might in individual games. I do think this is a situation, the Barkley situation. It was a very good signing for the Eagles, and I think the Giants made the right decision because they're not ready to win. Maybe they get an extra win here and there. Maybe he gets 3 yards where Devin Singletary's going to get 1 yard, but the offensive line is so bad, he's just going to get beat up, and they're going to win 6 games, 7 games. So I think that's a situation where, it's not a vacuum. It's a good decision for the Eagles because they're ready to win. It would have been a bad decision for the Giants because they're rebuilding. I really think it's the right decision for both teams. But that said, I think everybody looks at things in a vacuum and they're going to say, oh, he's good. And the Giants made a bad decision. And I don't think Brian Daboll and Joe Shane are surviving this. I don't.
Right.
Well,
that's my point. Good luck going into John Mara at the end of the season when you're 6-11 and you say, well, gee, we're just not ready to win yet, John. I mean,
you should know that. John Mara should know that, but
there's no patience in this league. I just think it was a mistake for them to get rid of Barkley. I mean, that guy, what he does in the locker room, and Nick talked about this.
He's a good dude. Yeah,
he's a great teammate. Always does the right things. He's available 24/7 if you want. And obviously, he's not 24/7, but whenever that locker room is open, he'll talk to you. He's not like, hey, I talk Friday or talk to me Thursday or. I'm only talking one day. He'll talk every single day we're in there. That's what leaders do. They make themselves available and they're accountable. And I just think to give up somebody like that, to me, was a mistake from the get-go. I don't care if you're ready to win or not. Saquon Barkley's a quality person, and you just can't have enough of those in a locker room.
Good stuff, Ed. I know you have a hard out. Go ahead, John.
No, that part I agree with. Yeah, but Ed's got a hard out.
I know Ed's got a hard out. Ed, I got a couple final questions for you, and they can be rapid fire here. I got 2 over-unders, all right, that I'm going to give you here before I let you go, and then we'll get your prediction on the way out. Johnny Wilson, 55 yards, 55.5 I'll do. And Bryce Huff.
God, I love your optimism.
Bryce Huff, half a sack.
I'm gonna go under on both of those. Sadly on Huff.
Ed Kracz, you talked up Johnny Wilson. You do not have a Johnny Wilson day incoming.
Well, listen, I love the 55.5 number. I think he can get close to that. I think he can. I really do. But I just don't know if he's ready to take that step over 55.5. But I think, hey, maybe 50, maybe 45. I think he's going to catch 3 passes, 4 passes. He might get a touchdown. He might have a package.
That's a good number for Jahan Dotson, not Johnny Wilson.
You going over with Dotson on that number? I might go over.
Better
with
go.
Got to go over with somebody. I mean,
yeah.
Get more than 55.
Yeah. I'm just not ready for Johnny Wilson to go over that number yet. But
I'll go over with Dallas Goedert. I'll go over 55 with Dallas.
And how about half a sack on Bryce Huff?
Man, there's just so little optimism with him. I mean, he looks like he's just thinking too much to me. Like he's trying to be this player that Fangio wants him to be. And you see him at the point of attack. It's almost like he just stands there and is thinking about what he needs to do next. They just got to let him play and play on instinct and let it rip. Just get him into the. No, he's not. He's not right. So, there's just not enough optimism to say, yeah, this is the week where he gets his first half sack. But listen, I hopefully he does. He could certainly use that shot of confidence, but I'm still going to go under on that one.
Now, this is the toughest question is your prediction because we don't know who's playing. Tampa's got 7. They're not going to have Winfield. They're not going to have Gansey, most likely. Eagles are unlikely to have AJ, Devontae, Lane. Good luck, but I still need a prediction.
Yeah, it looks like Vita Vea is going to play for the Bucs. He was limited, and the Eagles. I mean, Jason Kelsey struggled blocking that guy. Now you have Cam Jurgens. I mean, that guy can take over a game on the interior. I'd feel better about the Eagles if Vita Vea wasn't playing, and it looks like they might have their right tackle back, Luke Gadecki.
Yeah.
You know, he might be back. He's missed 2 games with a concussion. The Bucs gave up 7 sacks to the Browns last week, and I think a lot of that was they had the new right tackle. You know, the right tackle wasn't playing. But I think the Eagles can find a way to steal this game. Like I said, I got this vibe when I was in that press conference from Jalen Hurts that he's looking forward to this. You know, he is excited by the challenge of getting these new guys involved and letting them see and let people see what they can do when he gets them the football. So I think the Eagles find a way to win somewhere along the lines of maybe like 21-17, something
I think
like
it's
that.
low scoring. Yeah,
I think
agree.
so too. And we're not sure the weather. You know, they're getting smashed by a hurricane today.
It's also supposed to be like high 90s, which is just
it's going to be humid, hot.
It's raining though. I get this email from a meteorologist in Tampa.
Yeah, I get him. I get him too.
Like he's calling for 30% chance of showers and 5-mile-an-hour winds.
But that's Florida weather. Yeah, the hurricane's going to be out. The hurricane's already in. I don't. It might even be in past Georgia by now. It's moving quickly. So they got a big storm surge, and as I said, I hope all the people in Florida are doing well. But the Big Bend area is the area that got hit. Tampa got hit pretty hard with storm surge, but it should be fine weather-wise for the game, except normal Florida weather, and it's going to be really hot. So, that could be a cramp issue. But I know you got to go. I appreciate it. At Kracz on X, reademsi.com/NFL/Eagles. And I like your new profile picture. You missed the joke. I said, "Who's your friend in the T-shirt?" That's you. I thought you were the Easter Island statue.
I know. I don't know if you guys got a chance to go to the Franklin Institute when they had the brick display there, the Lego creations. It was just tremendous. And that's,
I couldn't tell it was a Lego creation.
Yeah, it's a Lego. Amazing. It's probably got like 75,000 Lego parts in it.
That's awesome
to create that. Yeah, it was a great display. So. I guess I did miss the joke, but I saw it at like 7:30 this morning. So, you know,
I don't blame you. Yeah. And maybe, if a joke doesn't hit, it's not a good joke. So I got to take accountability. I got to take accountability on my end.
All
right. Thanks, Ed.
Yeah, thanks for joining the show, man. I'll talk to you again soon. Appreciate it for joining today.
Have a great weekend, everybody.
All right, see you. There's Ed Kracz joining us on Birds 365. Great stuff. From Ed Kracz. He took the under on Bryce Huff at half a sack is a little depressing, John. I'm hoping that Bryce gets on the board, and it just doesn't seem like there's any optimism that happens.
Yeah, I like Ed's description of it too. I think he's thinking too much on the field. I think this is I laud Vic Fangio for a lot of stuff. I lauded him for his plan going into New Orleans, digging deep for that 6-man front and doing all these things. But, and Vic will hate this, but it's true. It's a read and react defense. And, I think if Bryce Huff, for instance, was under Jim Schwartz, it would be like the Jets. This is a guy that needs to play fast, go straight ahead. And right now, he's thinking too much. And it's not good. And I don't think he's a fit for this scheme. I'm coming to that conclusion.
Do you think that's part of the regression in snap numbers for him? Maybe Vic is trying to take more off his plate and get him back to that pin your ears back, do one thing and play fast, like you just said, and get after the quarterback.
Yeah, and we'll see. Right now, it doesn't look like Vic's got a role for that type of guy. And maybe he changes his mind at some point and says, well, he can do one thing well, the old one-trick pony. So, right now it seems to be he wants to turn him into a player worthy of the contract, a 3-down player, what everybody talks about. Oh, he's got to be a 3-down player. I've always maintained, no, he doesn't. But, maybe when the Eagles get to that conclusion, maybe things change a little bit. But right now, he looks like he's thinking way too much. Yeah.
We'll
and it's affecting his one trick.
Yeah, big time. His one trick is effectively gone right now. He doesn't have a trick currently. Hopefully he can find it. I'm I'm trying not to beat up on the dude too much. It's definitely concerned though. I mean, you paid all that money, you're expecting to get some sort of pressure. And the other side of it is, John, is if Jalen Carter plays like that every week, if Bryce Huff can just be serviceable as a pass rusher, I mean, your defensive line is gonna look nasty because Josh Sweat's playing decent on the other side. I mean, he hasn't gotten home or gotten on the board yet, but I think he's played better than he's been maybe given credit for early in the season. So if Bryce Huff can be serviceable and those Georgia dudes in the middle can play like they did on a consistent basis or play consistently like they did last week, I mean, the defensive line's not going to be, it's going to be the least of our worries.
Yeah, well, yeah, if Jalen Carter plays like that, I agree because it's going to create things. What's interesting, looking back, New Orleans didn't slide to Jalen Carter as much as you would think. And I think that probably changes this week. And probably because he hadn't been playing all that well coming into the game. So the Saints probably didn't think they needed to. Probably should have shifted a little bit early. And I think you'll see a little bit different. And when people do start sliding to Jalen Carter pretty consistently, that's when the other guys got to really show up. But in the case of Bryce Huff, yeah, I think Ed hit the nail on the head. He's thinking too much, and he's not a read and react player. He's a super aggressive player.
Yeah,
I'd like to see him in a Jim Schwartz scheme, but they don't play a Jim Schwartz scheme, so this might be a mistake from Howie.
Yeah, well, we'll see how it pans out with Bryce Huff. Hopefully, he can get on the board here soon. I thought maybe this would be a good week. I know they have Tristan Wirfs on one end, but I forget the dude's name on the other side. I don't think he's too great.
Gedeke. Well, he's been out. That's what.
Right. That's why.
He's had a concussion, and he's going to play. So
okay, so that changes that a little bit.
Yeah. So, Wirfs is obviously their best offensive lineman, but
yeah, he's tremendous, Tristan Wirfs.
He's Gedeke's a little bit, he's solid, and they haven't been solid. So that's a big development for them. No doubt about it.
Good stuff there from Johnny Mac. We're going to get to our next commercial break. Before we do that, I do want to thank everybody in the stream. I'm going to go to a super chat and then a new member here that joined us on JAKIB. So thank you. Guys, let's get those like button up. We're only down at 50 and we have almost 400 in here on YouTube. We got to get those like button up. I will say this about Birds 365 Nation. We are getting throttled in the like count by the Big Sills' National Football Show. Absolutely throttling us on the likes. And our chat's right up there with the same amount of people. So we got to up that like count. Birds 365 Nation's got to show out a little bit and help us with the like count. John, let's go to our super chat here from our man, Kenny Sprague. Kenny, thank you for checking in, brother. We're going to be taking all super chats in the second hour. So thank you guys. If you want to check in with a question, we would appreciate that. Kenny Sprague says, hey guys, I wonder if Saquon would have scored on the 4th and 1 if the crybabies would still be so ticked about that decision. The hardest thing about being a fan of this team is hearing all the other fans. What's Kenny talking about with the 4th and 1 there, John?
Yeah, I think that was the goal. The goal was to surprise the Saints and score. I mean, that was the goal. And if they scored, Kenny, I talk about it all the time. People aren't judging the decision. They're judging the result. And if the result is good, everybody's happy. So 100%, that's the case. And they wouldn't complain. If any 4th down, like I said, for the 4th down complainers, the two things I pointed out, somebody else pointed it out this morning on X, and I'm glad they did. And I think it was Mike Sealski. The 2016, 2017 Eagles, when they started this, were at the cusp of it, the 4th down aggression, and it gave this team a huge advantage over other teams. Now everybody's copied the vast majority of the league, and now it's become part of the game. And it should be a source of pride for Eagles fans, but it's hard. If you bail, then it becomes, that's a terrible decision. Not necessarily. And it is proven over a large portion of time from a thematic standpoint to be a big advantage for this particular team. Doesn't mean you're always going to be successful, but if you do it over a large sample size, it's going to give you an advantage. The whole league is on board with that. A lot of fans aren't. I don't know why, but that's where we are.
Good stuff, Kenny. Thank you for checking in with the super chat, man. I appreciate that very much. And then big shout out to Tanner Cremons or Cremons, or I don't know how to pronounce that one. But Tanner, thank you for becoming a member, man. Appreciate your support of the channel. You're also officially entered in for any of our Saquon Barkley jersey giveaways this year. I think there could be another one incoming, John, on the Saquon jersey giveaways. 125. I mean, he might be looking at 175 this weekend with nobody out on
well,
the
there's two ways you can look at it. I mean, there's certainly going to be the opportunity, but I would think that Todd Bowles' number one game plan is stop Saquon Barkley. So, you kind of saw it last week with the Eagles and going to those 6-man fronts. It doesn't matter if it's Saquon Barkley or insert your favorite running back of all time. It could be Walter Payton. It could be, if you want to go back to Jim Brown, it could be whomever. If you want to stop the run, you can stop the run, but you leave yourself obviously susceptible to the pass. So, but this is a week where, Todd Bowles may come into this game and say, guess what? I don't think Jahan Dotson can beat me. I don't think Johnny Wilson, despite Zander's optimism, can beat me. I don't think John Ross wearing number 38 can beat me.
John, if I altered the Johnny Wilson over under to, let's say, 33.5 yards, you still taking the under?
Yes, but it's,
weird.
Betting's about odds, right?
Yeah.
So it would still go under, but if you're a 33, it's a better number because you make a couple plays and you're right there.
Right.
It's a better number, and they'll probably have 2 receptions. Are they for 10 yards or 15 yards? And then you're right there. So yeah, I mean, and I could be wrong. Look, we don't even know who's going to be elevated. The Eagles have 5 practice squad receivers, 5. And yeah, we know Paris Campbell's going to be one. We know that. And then the second one, John Ross just got back, and Kyle Phillips has been here. Danny Gray's been here. These are names that people aren't even going to recognize. Marcus Rosemead, Jack Saint. Certainly not going to. They've been here. They maybe one of those guys piqued somebody's eyes over the weeks behind the scenes, and maybe they get the call. But just a hunch, because John Ross was backup punt returner. He's going to be the guy. And hopefully Devontae clears concussion protocol, which is out of the Eagles' hands. But and then you don't have that issue. But and if those 4 guys are going to be the guys, Dotson, Campbell, Ross, Wilson, rep count, Dotson by far number 1, Campbell by far number 2, and then it's like, Ross just got here, so the logic would be Wilson would be number 3, but I think Ross would sneak ahead, not by a large degree, but at least slightly.
We'll see. Jalen Hurts coming into this game with a lot less weapons than he's had in the last couple of years. This might be the worst receiving core Jalen's ever entered a game with as an Eagle. Maybe not from his first year. I mean, with Doug, he had, I guess, then maybe, but I don't know.
Yeah,
he got Devontae Smith as first starting.
That Carson Wentz, he didn't have a lot at wide receiver. Had a lot of tight end, but he didn't have a lot at wide receiver at times. To the point you have the Travis Fulgham game, and people bring that up, and they didn't have a lot.
Travis Fulgham, Jalen Reagor. That's who you were working with. JJ Arthega Whiteside. Hakeem Butler, Deontay Burnett was some of the receivers.
Yeah, they tried. Jalen obviously was a first-round pick, and JJ was a second-round pick. It's not like they didn't try. They didn't.
They just missed.
They just missed with the players, and that's not even player development's part of it as well. Nobody just shows up as a finished product. So, but yeah, I mean, it's tough for me after watching the Jalen Reagor era to blame it too much on the coaching staff. But, and they just, I find it ironic, the debate between Jefferson and Reagor is settled, to say the least. But, what the JJ Arcega-Whiteside year was between JJ and Paris Campbell. And Jeffrey kind of leaned it towards JJ Arcega-Whiteside because he was very impressed by him. Very impressive behind the scenes, Stanford kid, very smart. Intern for Condoleezza Rice back in the day.
I knew it was something with that, yeah.
I get why he would be impressive to people, but the larger point is, hey, Paris Campbell hasn't done much either. Yeah, he's better than JJ Arcega-Whiteside, but he hasn't exactly had a sterling.
JJ wasn't bad in college, not at all.
No, he's very good. Yeah, he was very good player in college. Yeah. Tremendous player. I don't like that. This part of the reason with Johnny Wilson. I don't like contested catch guys in the NFL. Like, if you can't get separation, it ain't gonna work.
Yeah, that's part of what makes Britton Covey good. I mean, he just gets separation, so he gets the ball.
Yeah, it might work in the moment. You get a nice 50-50 catch occasionally, but you're not going to be tremendously effective if you can. And that's why people point to other large receivers, Mike Evans. You're going in to face it. Yeah, he gets separation. He's gotten separation for years, which is rare for a 6'5" guy. AJ, here, big-bodied receiver. He gets separation. Those contested catch guys, it's tough for them.
We'll see how it plays out. I do want to, before I get to our commercial break, good stuff there. We're going to come back and break this game down more. I'll take a couple more questions from the chat. Tanner says, butchered the last name, but glad to be here. Been watching for the last 3 seasons. Tanner, thanks for becoming a member. John, can you help me on that last name? How would you pronounce
Tanner Kremians? I don't know. That's what I'm going with.
That's not bad. Tanner, how close was Johnny Mack? Tanner Kremians? I'm normally pretty good with pronunciation, but that wasn't not my best moment.
It's probably not good. Well, I can't figure it out. It's not French.
CZ checks in. He says Zander about to give away a Wilson jersey. CZ, I would love to do that. I don't know if anybody would want the Wilson jersey. So, if I made a stipulation for giving away a Wilson jersey, somebody would just say, hey, man, I'm happy I won, but can I just get a Saquon or something? So maybe we'll do that. Maybe by the end of the show, I'll decide if Johnny Wilson.
You got to give away a John Ross number 38 jersey.
Yeah, John, I don't think that's ever being given away. 38. How long will that number? That's a brutal.
Yeah, he might not even wear 38 by game time. He might change that by game time. Yeah, I'm with you there.
Maybe if Wilson does get over 55 yards, though, I'll do a second jersey this week. So we'll see about that. SMD, I didn't forget about you. Don't worry, I'll work on that for you. SMD is our resident who she does all the special teams jerseys. John, we sent SMD an Aaron Siposs jersey back in the day. SMD, I didn't forget SMD. SMD, I don't forget anything.
Siposs, yeah.
So we sent her that. We sent her one of those, and I don't know if she puts them on the wall or what, but I remember sending her that. So she's been here, JAKIB supporter for a long time. So we're gonna work on getting her a Braden Mann jersey. SMD, I'll make sure I do that for you. So thank you so much for the support, everybody. There's Tanner. Crew means. Is that right? Crew means.
All right. Crew means.
I was way off, Tanner. Anyway, appreciate you becoming a member. Let's get to our next commercial break. Before I do that, everybody, I want to tell you all about BetUS for sponsoring the show. Big shout out to BetUS for sponsoring the show today. The best betting partner, I believe, out there. You can use that code. You see it on your screen right now at YouTube 150. Use that code when you sign up. That's exclusively for if you're watching from YouTube. So a nice code gives you 150% sign up bonus on that first deposit. And then you get 125% on your second and third deposits, all up to $2,000. So deposit less and bet with more on BetUS. Go ahead and check out those Johnny Wilson odds, everybody, on BetUS. The Saquon Barkley numbers, I would love to see what they are. We'll check them out on BetUS. I would take the over on Saquon this week. Although John brings up a good point. Maybe Todd Bowles' game plans for Saquon and they're forced to beat you another way, but we'll see. So go to betus.com.pa. That's betus.com.pa. Big thanks to BetUS for sponsoring the show today. Appreciate everybody in the chat. Hit that like button, everybody. Appreciate all of you guys for being here. We'll be right back in 3 minutes on Birds 365.
If you missed any of today's show on the JAKIB Media channel, listen to the podcast on your way home. Available on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify.